Welcome to City Hall. Hey, Jack. If you're in the building, please make your way to council chambers. everybody, and welcome to City Hall. This is a meeting of the Los Angeles City Council for today, Tuesday, September 25th, the year is 2001. City Council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Council meetings are broadcast live on cable television, channel 35, and can also be viewed via webcast on the city's homepage, www.lacity.org, and of course can be heard live via council phone. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bernstein, Galandra, Garcetti, Hahn, Holden, Miskowski, Pacheco, Perry, Reyes, Ridley Thomas, Wax, Weiss, Sine, and Padilla. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you. Before we begin with the business of today's agenda, if I can ask everybody to please stand for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Burnson moves, Ms. Hahn seconds.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Reyes moves and Mr. Zine seconds.
Mr. President, to start the agenda, you have several commission appointments today. Item number 2 is a report for the Information Technology and General Services Committee regarding the appointment of Dean Hansel to the Board of Information Technology Commissioners.
If we can ask Mr. Hansel to come forward. Public hearing has been held on this appointment, colleagues. Public hearing is no longer required here. Any members wishing to speak or ask questions of Mr. Hansel? Mr. Weiss.
I just want to say that Mr. Hansel served this city so well on the police commission for so many years. It's really it's a delight and a real benefit to the city that you're going to continue to serve in this capacity on this new commission, and I wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Mr. Garcetti.
I too rise in support of Mr. Hansel. I think that his previous service on the Police Commission, especially around areas of civil rights, was exemplary. Within your capacity on Information Technology Board, I just wanted to ask you a quick question or two. In terms of the 311 project, are you familiar with that a bit?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. What do you think, how would you assess where we're at and where we need to go right now with the 311 project?
Well, where we're at is way behind schedule with it, and it's particularly right now because of what looks like is happening in the nation. I think it's a particularly important issue because there's a danger. You know, the 911 system is already way over capacity. It's overwhelmed. We don't have enough PSRs to run the 911 center, so I really think it needs to be a high priority right now, and I think it's going to require a lot of cooperation between various city departments, and I think setting egos aside and everybody kind of rolling up their sleeves and going to work on it. So I think it's really an important area.
Those are very encouraging words, and I think that if we can pull off that project, it will do more to bring government closer to people and for people to have faith in city government to a new level. So look forward to working with you on that.
Thank you. And by the way, one other thing with 311 as well is I think that having internet access as well for people, because a lot of people have questions that if they go online, they might be able to answer what are the hours of various libraries, how do you get down here, how do you get a parking permit, and so forth. So a very user-friendly internet system, I think, would also be of great benefit.
Thank you. Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Mr. President, members of the council, Mr. Hansel did appear before a committee this past week, and both Mr. Zine and I took the opportunity to talk with him about his interest in issues related to technology. We learned quite a bit about his interest in this area. He did have a keen interest in it when serving on the police commission. Not only that, having served or worked in a law firm that had as one of its specialties the issue of intellectual property. We did discuss, as you'll recall, Mr. Zine, the matter of 311 with Mr. Hansel, and felt that not only was he interested, but in fact up to speed, not only up to speed, but prepared to provide leadership on the Information Technology Commission so that the issues related to the city's technological infrastructure would be given coherence, coordination in a comprehensive way. And so with that in mind, Mr. President, members of the council, your committee does recommend the appointment of Dean Hansel as a commissioner on the Board of Information Technology. Having said that, it is useful to make the observation with respect to the continuity that some of us elect to bring to the discussion. When we think about information technology, it is important for us to stay riveted on the question of the digital divide. And the extent to which that becomes a concern of ours as a policy consideration, it would seem to me that the appointments on the board have to reflect that reality in terms of those who are hands-on from across the city. And if we look with care at the demographics of this particular commission, it would contradict the intensity with which we need to focus on the question of the digital divide. And I've raised that matter with the appointing authority and have made that known, and their sensitivity in that connection. Suffice it to say that I think Dean Hansel will serve well, but in light of the paucity of representation, it means, sir, that you will have to do double duty.
I'll try my best.
Mr. Zine.
Well, I had a long statement to make, but Councilman Marco Lee Thomas said it all for me. So got our strong support. I know you've done well in the Police Commission, and I'm sure you do well in this position. Congratulations. I'm sure my colleagues will confirm you.
Thank you.
Ms. Han.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am most concerned as we move forward in the city with the creation of neighborhood councils. And clearly, one of the major objectives of neighborhood councils is two-way communication with city government, two-way communications with city departments, and again, bringing government closer to the people. I'm also, in light of the recent events in the last 2 weeks, am wondering what things we're going to be putting in place in terms of being able to communicate with and share information with neighborhoods all over the city in case of a major disaster or emergency. So I certainly am supporting your nomination, but would love to hear your comments on both how we're going to really improve technology in light of neighborhood councils, and not only just with ongoing actions of government, but in case of a real emergency in the city.
Let me, if I could maybe spend a couple more minutes talking about this idea of a citywide internet system, a website, because I think that's one of the major purposes of it. It's both for people who want to get information either in an emergency situation or just routine information, having something that's very user-friendly to be able to do that. And then the second reason that you have something like that is so people can communicate with each other. And that means so that your constituents in the harbor, for example, would have a very simple way of tracking you down to your staff, or if you've got a message, you can send it out. And another thing, too, and I'm going to get on thin ice quickly because of the limits of my technological knowledge, but I understand with good websites, you can have sort of user groups, subgroups. So, for example, the idea of a neighborhood council in the harbor area that may be able to communicate with its members via email. And if well designed, it could serve both those purposes.
Mr. Reyes.
Dean Hansel, there's an old adage, picture's worth 1,000 words.
Hay un dicho que dice,
We have a city that's multicultural, multilingual, and I look at the makeup of the commission. I think one of the challenges is how do we communicate complicated issues and land use impacts. And virtual reality is a technology that's coming to form. And I wanted to know if you're in a position, or what is your posture in trying to bring in this element of technology where we can use imagery, permit processing, reaching consensus, discussing impacts, that are very complicated in engineering terms, planning terms, architectural terms, but if you show it, and you can be in an environment where everyone speaks Spanish or Tagalog or Mandarin, you show the picture, you can see the impact. Can we get the commission to start looking at virtual reality as an element, as a tool to communicate and start defining our sense of space in a way in which we can start reaching an easier path towards consensus? What would be your response to that?
Well, I certainly think that there are a lot of different tools, that being one of them that will be important. I mean, part of virtual reality is, for example, this session. I mean, the ability to be able to log on somewhere and simultaneously be able to both monitor what's taking place and also, if need be, people to be able to express their opinions about it. Part of it, and maybe take off on something that Councilmember Ridley Thomas said, that keys off on your point about multiculturalism as well, deals with the issue of the digital divide, which means, of course, the ability of everybody to be able to have access to the internet, and that can mean different things in different cities, and probably in different parts of a city as well, and really trying to develop a strategy. How do you take a city as big and as far-flung as Los Angeles and be able to address that particular question? There are probably going to be a lot of different answers, but you're going to have neighborhoods where the majority language is not English. What kind of strategies do you put in place in that neighborhood so that those people can access government, understand what's going on with government, and express their views with it? It's a real challenge on it. I don't pretend I've got any magic bullets on it, but it's something that I think if we can address that on it, we really will have adopted a model not just for LA, but for the whole nation, because nobody's quite done it yet.
I look forward to working with you. Any way we can enhance our ability to use technology like virtual reality as a tool for communication, I'm more than happy to support you on that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other members wishing to speak? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Item number 3 is a communication from the Chair of the Planning and Land Use Management Committee regarding the appointment of William Rouse to the the Board of Building and Safety Commissioners. Public hearing has not been held on this matter.
Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Mr. President, as we move toward the confirmation or the discussion of the confirmation of this nominee, may I take the privilege to indicate that we have a colleague in our midst, and it is our tradition when such is the case to recognize such a colleague. She's a former member of this body. She is now an assembly person. She is Jackie Goldberg, and I think people ought to know that she's here, and welcome her back to the council chambers.
Thank you, Mr. Ridley Thomas. Colleagues, we have another commission appointment before us. Any members wishing to ask any questions? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Congratulations, Mr. Rouse. Next item, please.
Item number 4 is another commission appointment. The commission appointment of Ms. Kathleen Reardon to the Board of Animal Services Commission. There is a report from the Public Safety Committee.
Is Ms. Reardon here? There she is. And thank you for leading us today in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored.
Ms. Misikowski.
Mr. President, the Public Safety Committee heard this nominee and actually heard a number of people who came down who follow very closely the Animal Services Department and participate in a lot of their programs, and everyone who came down to testified in support of this particular commission nominee who has served well in the past administration, and I'm very pleased that she's been appointed again, and so we recommended her very strongly for confirmation to the Council.
Thank you, Ms. Misikowski. Any other members wishing to speak? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Congratulations, you're reconfirmed.
Thank you.
Now let's get back to work. Next item, please.
Mr. President, item number 10 is a commission appointments, the mayor's appointment of Luis Mata to the Board of Disability Commissioners. Arts, Health, and Humanities Committee waived this matter. A public hearing has not been held.
Okay, public hearing has not been held. I don't have any cards on this commission appointment. We shall deem the public hearing open and closed. Any members wishing to speak? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please open the roll on confirmation of the nominee. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Congratulations, Mr. Mata. Thank you. Next item, please.
Item number 11 is also a mayor's appointment of Mr. Charles Stern to the Cultural Affairs Commission. Arts, Health, and Humanities Committee waived this matter. Public hearing has not been held.
Public hearing has not been held, and I do not have cards on this item. Shall deem the public hearing open and closed. Any members wishing to speak? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Congratulations, you are confirmed.
Thank you very much.
Next item, please.
Mr. President, I understand there is a request to take item number 19 on the supplemental agenda out of order.
Yes, there is. So without objection, colleagues will take item 19 out of order. Public hearing has been held on this item. I'll recognize Mr. Garcetti first.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I'd like to introduce a substitute motion today for item 19, which would approve and authorize Trizicon 5-star parking to operate the city-owned Hollywood Highland parking facility at 6801 Hollywood Boulevard. Just to give you a little bit of the history, when this went before, when the RFP went out, there were 4 bidders. 5-star Trizicon came in the highest. It has been something that I've wanted to look at down the line to make sure that we have city-owned garages and city-operated garages wherever possible. But in the short term, unfortunately, the GSD bid comes in over the bond, which means that monies would come directly out of the CD13 parking revenue fund, encumbering our ability to do some parking projects. And also, the main concern why this was switched in committee was a security one. And I'm happy to let you know today that the mayor's office has had those security concerns met and is happy with 5-star Trizac operating that. This is, again, a union contract with Teamsters Local 911. Living wage will be there, and this does not fix us into the long term to do this. It just means that we can meet, I think, the deadline for the all-important opening. If I could retain the balance of my time and just call on a couple people to give a little bit of testimony. Assemblymember Jackie Goldberg is here to give a little bit of the history as well, and we have a couple other representatives who might be able to speak to any questions you have.
Thank you. I'll be very brief, Mr. President, members of the council. It's a joy to be back in this beautiful building and to see all of you here and to congratulate those of you who have been elected since I left. This matter is important in the sense that, in my opinion, once a deal is made, you shouldn't go back on it. And basically the deal is that Trizicon would pay a living wage, would run it initially, and I want to be real clear about that, because as most of you know that were here when I was here, I believe DOT should run these lots. This is not a permanent decision, it's an initial decision, and we did that because we said that we were worried about how the bonds would be paid initially for the parking, and they've agreed not to take a fee or to pay or any profit off of the parking lot initially in order to make sure we can do coverage. I think that's very important. I'm glad to hear that the The security issues, which are very important, we're also satisfied. And I would just urge you to support the substitute motion and to understand that this is an initial management contract, not a permanent statement, because personally I believe eventually, and then the very near term, it should be a DOT parking lot and run by DOT. I think city employees can handle this very well, but I think there are some concerns, and a deal, in my humble opinion, should be a deal and not changed around after the fact unless there's some real reason to do so. So I would urge an aye vote. Thank you very much. I'm not going to be able to stay for too much longer, so if I can beg your indulgence, I'm supporting these folks who want to put some money in the trust fund. Please do that. And don't shift it out of CRA, because then it's just the same amount of money. It's not new money. We need new money in it. Thank you for your indulgence.
Thank you, Ms. Goldberg.
Thank you, Assemblymember Goldberg, and we will always welcome a plug for the Housing Trust Fund. Appreciate that. Colleagues, I also want to share with you a letter that I'll enter here into the record from Jim Santangelo, the president of Teamsters Joint Council 42. And one of the things that he refers to in particular is right now, because of the tragedies on the East Coast, that there have been a lot of layoffs in the parking operation at LAX, and they're doing their best within the union to make sure that some of those displaced folks will be able to, in the short term, perhaps work at this garage. Also, Trizec has hired from the LAPD, in terms of formerly from the LAPD, gentleman who is in charge, I believe, anti-terrorism for the LAPD, to be the head of security for the entire complex, including the parking, and I think that we're in good and steady hands. Again, I would echo what Assemblymember Goldberg said, and let GSD and our good friends at SEIU 347 know that this is something here in the short term and something that we can revisit, but right now this makes the financial sense and the security sense as well. So I'd urge an aye vote. Thank you.
Ms. Misikowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm happy to second the motion that Mr. Garcetti made to substitute. Members of the council, we've heard a little bit from Ms. Goldberg about the history of this, and I think that that's one of the reasons to support the substitute motion and recommend the Trizecon 5-star operator. But there's another reason, and I'd just like to point it out, particularly for some of the newer members of the council. The recommendation of Trizecon 5-star not only is historically keeping with what the deal had been, but also as we went out for an RFP, and had ratings on the different proposals. The raters in the city, and the way we go through this normally, is to take individuals who have expertise in this field from various departments. In this case, it was the CLA, the CAO, 2 members of the Department of Transportation who are familiar with operating parkings, and someone from the mayor's office. All 5 of the rating individuals rated Trizecon 5-star #1 for this proposal. And I think that's important, not only in this instance, but it's important in the future, because very often in the future what you'll see around this council is, as we've gone out for a bid, the one who isn't #1 raises questions about why they should get it. And this council has pretty historically, over the last 4 or 5 years, said we are going to depend on that independent process, that process that is as much removed from special interest as we can, and that's why, again, I think this is important. It's also important that it was rated #1 because this deal, as Ms. Goldberg so carefully put together about a year or 2 ago, causes us to be dependent on the bonded indebtedness, that is the paying off of the bond that we helped float for the parking revenue, by the parking revenue generated. So an important quality of that rating factor is how much revenue is purported to be offered by the proposal. And this proposer was, again, #1, which keeps the city parking revenue fund whole, and it also keeps the general fund from being tapped to pay off that bonded indebtedness if it wasn't met. So I think for all of those reasons, from the practical concerns, and then in the additional concerns in the aftermath of September 11th to pay heightened concern to security, that all of those issues that the mayor raised about this can be addressed consistent with the goal of awarding it to the #1 bidder and #1 rated bidder. And so I second the motion by Mr. Garcetti to award that contract consistent with those goals.
Thank you. Any other members wishing to speak? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please open the roll on the substitute motion. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Substitute motion is approved. Next item, please.
Mr. President, item #1 is an item noticed for public hearing, and it is also an ordinance.
Item 1 is notice for public hearing. I do not have requests from members of the public to speak on item 1. We shall deem the public hearing open and closed. Any members wishing to speak on item 1? Colleagues, item 1. Mr. Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Item 1 is approved.
Items numbers 5 through 9 on the regular agenda are items for which public hearings have been held. I believe there is a card on item number 5.
We do have one card on item 5. Let's call that one special. We have items 6 through 9 before us, colleagues. Any specials? Mr. Reyes calls 7 special, 6, 8, and 9. Any other specials? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please open the roll on items 6, 8, and 9. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Those items are approved. Next item, please.
Mr. President, item number 12 is a bid. The bids were open this morning in the Office of the City Administrative Officer, and the CAO has prepared a resolution for council to adopt, awarding the bid to Goldman Sachs and Company for aggregate principal amount of $90,185,000 with a true interest cost of 4.488549%. A motion is required from the floor.
Colleagues, item 12 is before us. Mr. Weiss moves approval of the bid. Any members wishing to speak? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That item is approved. Next item, please.
Items numbers 13 through 18 on the regular agenda are items for which public hearings have not been held.
13 through 18, public hearings have not been held, and I do not have requests to speak on any of those items. We shall deem public hearing open and closed for items 13 through 18. Any specials? 13 through 18? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Those items are approved.
Mr. President, that brings you back to item number 5, and as much as a member of the public wishes to speak on this matter.
Item 5 is now before us, colleagues. The council calls forward Mr. Jim McQuiston.
Good morning, Mr. President and members of council. Jim McQuiston from the East Hollywood Community Association. We rise in support of this, and we want to commend the committee for submitting this. However, we do want to reiterate our position that there's some problems with the ordinance. It was not proposed according to the charter, the basic enabling ordinance of Dunn, and there is a clause in it which effectively kills any cooperation between the departments and Dunn, and we do want forthwith to get it amended as soon as possible. I'm sure it will go to committee. And the other thing I do want to say is that the existing ordinance says that the Dunn has a whip hand if the departments don't communicate properly. Dunn is supposed to get them in line. That is in the ordinance now. And the general manager, faced with a dissent from the departments, backed off from that commandment in the ordinance. And these things, I think, need to be worked out in the committee, and that's the only reason that I want to make this statement. I'm sure that Councilmember Hahn is going to take care of this, and also yourself, Mr. President, and I'm very happy that this is progressing the way it is.
Thank you very much. This concludes public comment for item 5. Any members wishing to speak? Ms. Hahn.
Thank you. Thank you for your confidence. And as you know, in my first committee meeting, I was clearly upset with some of the reports that were being made to me by the department. And clearly, I believe we're moving on a new track. We have new commissioners on the Board of Neighborhood Empowerment. We have a new interim general manager. to be confirmed, but I really think that some of these issues we are definitely going to take care of, because ultimately this is a critical point for our city, is making sure that while we create neighborhood councils across the city, we've got a good plan on how the departments of the city interact with each and every neighborhood council, and you can count on me to continue to fight for that.
Thank you, Ms. Han. Any other members wishing to speak? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 eyes.
That item is approved. Next item, please.
Item number 7, called special by Councilmember Reyes.
Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. Colleagues, the city has a history of supporting education. And throughout the years, we have supported legislation that encourages all students, both documented and undocumented, to continue going to school. Well, AB 540 does the same. Quite simply, it's giving residents in my district and throughout the state of California and all your districts an equal shot at getting college education as any other kid. It allows for those youngsters who have been in high school 3 years, who are applying for Cal State, the University of California state institutions, to be qualified as a resident, so they don't have to pay those higher fees for those that are not from within the state. So I encourage you to support this bill. It's on the governor's desk. We'll be sending a loud message that education for our youth is very important, regardless of who they are. Requirements are that they do complete 3 years of high school within the state of California. Working in my district, I've come across individual students. There's one youngster at Cathedral High who's student body president. He's A honor roll, had worked 2 jobs, paid his way through a private school, and wanted to go to the UC system, but could not afford it, could not get the right support, and essentially was now thinking about his future in a very different context. The hard work he put forward in his homework, making sure he set a model of himself for his neighbors, his brothers and sisters, were not being questioned. So this is the hope we need to give our youth. I encourage you to vote yes, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, members of the public, this bill supports good kids, plain and simple. This rewards students who work hard, who are interested in bettering their life, who want to go to college, who are the ones who qualify for college, and this opens the door to allow them to go to college. I rise in strong support as one of the seconders of this. I know that Council President Padilla is another one of the seconders. It's a critical time for us to act, to send that message, to make sure that we don't just give lip service to talking about in our communities that we want to invest in youth, that we want to reward people who stay in school and study hard. This will do that. And it won't close the door out to some people who can't afford to go to college otherwise. It will open those doors of opportunities, increase citizenship in this country, and make sure that we have healthy neighborhoods and children. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Any other members wishing to speak? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 eyes.
That item is approved. Let's send that forthwith to the mayor. Item 19, also forthwith. Next item.
Mr. President, now is the time for public comment.
It's a public comment period, an opportunity for members of the public to address the council on items not appearing on today's agenda, but within the council's jurisdiction. Council calls forward, there's no name on this card. Let's start with Jason Mugford.
I want to thank the council for giving me this opportunity. My name is Jason Mugford. I work for CDSNet Smart Shuttle Incorporated, which operates the Smart Shuttle program in the Mid-Wilshire area, the MacArthur Park Smart Shuttle operation. I'd like to present the council with 5,000 signatures from our riders, and that's just in the Mid-Wilshire District alone, asking for a continuance of this service. The current funding expires this Friday, leaving 5,000 of our riders without their preferred method of transportation, leaving the city without one of its most innovative and cost-effective methods of transportation. We would ask the city, please, to provide for bridge funding while alternate revenue sources through the MTA and other sources are finalized. The discussions have been ongoing for several months. At this juncture, I would like to present, Councilman Holden and Councilman Wise's office both have copies of these, the original signatures, if I could.
Thank you very much. I do have one other card that was submitted without a name to address issues about Firehouse number 9, other issues in Los Angeles. If this sounds familiar, I'll call you forward now. Otherwise, public comment period is now closed for today's meeting. Mr. Holden.
Request that we grant reconsideration of item 33 that was passed the last legislative day, which is last Friday. This is the next legislative day, and it can therefore be granted. Unanimous consent for the purpose of a slight amendment and having this matter be reported directly to the council. On Friday, there was no specific date in the original motion, Mr. President.
Okay, and the subject matter again? The item itself?
The subject matter was on the, related to this Edward H. Fickett, was a long-time architect. We just need a report back.
Just to jog the memory a little bit. Colleagues, request to reconsider item 33.
Actually,
item 1.
Item 21, Council
On
File.
Friday's agenda.
Item 21 from last Friday's agenda.
Council File 01-1895.
Please open the roll and reconsideration. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
And not the matters before us, Mr. President, I'm asking that the report be made this Friday. It was not definite. It was not specific in the original motion.
Okay.
This Friday by the various departments.
Any other comments or questions, members? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Motions for posting and referral.
Those motions are posted and referred.
Councilmember Bernstein requests to be excused on Friday, September 28th for city business. This meets policy.
Mr. Bernstein is excused.
Councilmember Miskowski requests to be excused on October 17th and 19th. The 17th meets policy. The 19th, the motion is required for personal business.
Mr. Pacheco moves. Ms. Miskowski is excused.
And Ms. Hahn requests to be excused on Friday, September 28th for city business, and this meets policy.
Ms. Hahn is excused.
The desk is clear.
This is clear, colleagues. Any adjourning motions? Seeing none, thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.